here on the SHR Media Network. Today is Thursday, February 13th, the year of our Lord, 2025. And we have a ton to get to today, mostly because we got cut short the last time we were together. And I still want to touch on most of that. And then we had a lot of really great stuff happen since. We have Trump's executive orders making all kinds of waves, driving the left bananas. Doge also driving the left bananas. And the FO portion of the program is pretty much in full swing. It's what a time to be alive. But yeah, we got all that and more coming up on the show. We may go a little longer than usual because of what happened the last time we were together. But I want to thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network. You can follow us on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Truth Social. And for our merch, head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out this design that I'm wearing and all the other great designs. And also, it is the 13th. If you're into Valentine's Day, head over to carrygirl.com and get yourself a last-minute gift certificate so that, because you probably forgot, right? But head over there, get yourself a gift certificate, and let your girl know that you love her by giving her some Carry Girl gear. All right. I think that's all the business we have. So let's get after it. All right. Before we really get started into what I wanted to talk about, there was a terrorist attack in Germany this morning. Left 28 people injured, including a mother and child that she was walking in a stroller. This is the effect of unchecked, unfettered immigration. And I don't know if I don't think that person was there illegally. He had been seeking asylum in Germany, and his asylum claim was denied. So he resorted to a life of crime. He'd been arrested a number of times. He'd been posting Muslim propaganda on his social media. So he was most likely a radical Muslim, and decided he was going to commit an act of terror in Germany for whatever reason. He'd been arrested, like I said before, on drug and shoplifting charges. He should have been deported. His asylum claim was no good. He should have been deported. And like I said, this is an example of what unfettered immigration does to a country. This is the 5th attack in less than a year involving these immigrants. We're seeing what's happening with us closing our border. Our encounters are down 90%. That's 90% fewer potential terrorists let into this country. We still have to deal with the ones that got in, and I have confidence that they will do that. But we can't let this continue to happen, because if it's happening over there, it's going to happen here. Anyway, that's enough of that. I want to get to some winning. Because we are winning. Just shortly before, while I was getting ready to come on, it came out that RFK has been confirmed. We had Tulsi Gabbard confirmed as DNI yesterday and sworn in. So I'm sure she's going to hit the ground running just like everyone else has in this administration. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she does and what RFK does. I hope I pray that one of the first things that happens is that all of the garbage that's in our food that is illegal in every other civilized country around the world, I pray that all of that gets made illegal here, because this is the garbage, the poison. It's not even, it goes beyond garbage. It's the poison that is in the food that we eat in this country, that in this house we try not to eat. We look at those labels intensely to make sure we're not eating any of that poison. But of course, it's going to slip in here and there. But I really hope and pray that he manages to get all of that junk out of our food, because we know that the lobbyists are going to fight that tooth and nail. And that gets to something that we're going to talk about later on in the show, about how these people are defending the indefensible. We got the people complaining that DOJ is uncovering corruption, and they're defending, in protesting all the corruption, all the uncovering of the corruption, they're defending it. And we know that these people, once RFK starts to try and get some of this junk out of our food, the lobbyists and the people who are getting kickbacks from all of this nonsense, they're going to start trying to defend poisoning us, defending the indefensible. And I can't wait to see who it is. I cannot wait to see who it is. But anyway, we have those wins stacking up. And also yesterday, President Trump managed to secure the release of Marc Fogel, who had been imprisoned in Russia. He was detained a few months before Brittany Griner was, and he was detained because he had, I believe, 0.06 ounces of medical marijuana. He had a prescription for it because he was suffering from, and I can't remember exactly what it is now, but he was suffering from some sort of disease that he was in a lot of pain, and he had been prescribed the medical marijuana for the pain. Brittany Griner, a few months later, she was detained. She had hash oil in a vape cartridge. So she was just taking it just because she wanted to get high. And they ended up getting convicted around the same time for the same crime. He gets 14 years, she gets 9. The Biden administration fights tooth and nail to get her released, and they give up a notorious arms dealer to secure her release, and never even mention Marc Fogel. I have his story in the show notes. Please read it, check it out, because it's ridiculous. And one of the things that really irked me about it is that the Biden administration had 3 years. They had 4 years, I think. They had the entire time they were there to get him out, and they didn't mention it at all. There were a few other prisoners like Brittany Griner and someone else that they just shrugged and said, "Yeah, we'll get to it." And within 3 weeks of winning the election, or getting sworn in the Oval Office, within 3 weeks, President Trump managed to secure his release. And I have a clip here of one of President Trump's spokespeople talking about what it took to get him released. And I just want you to hear what he has to say, because it sums it up perfectly. And it goes to show that they really just didn't care. They didn't care. But check this out. This is the president's deputy principal secretary.
So all gas and no brakes with this current administration. The to-do list was long, and they're crossing things off at a quick pace. Some things are big, but the little things count too, like bringing back plastic straws, renaming the Gulf of America, and keeping men out of women's sports. Most recently, bringing home Pennsylvania school teacher Mark Fogel after more than 3 years spent in a Russian prison.
And it's only been 3 weeks, and it's just the beginning. So Principal Deputy White House Press Secretary and Special Assistant to the President, Harrison Fields, joins us now live from the North Lawn of the White House. Good morning, Harrison. Great to see you in front of that iconic building. So let's start with the release of Mark Fogel yesterday. Take a listen to what he and President Trump had to say from the Oval Office right after his return.
I feel like the luckiest man on earth right now.
I appreciate Steve Witkoff, the job he did, and Marco behind the scenes was unbelievable. And so many of these people were unbelievable. They represent him. They're from his area. And we just wanted to get him back home.
So, Harrison, the administration, obviously 3 weeks in, already getting hostages released. And what did it take to get this deal through? And what's next? We hear teasing that there's going to be another release possibly today.
Well, good morning to you. And to answer your question, all it took was effort. For 3.5 years, the Biden-Harris administration sat by, let this man in Russia and his family over here desperate to have him back. It took 3 weeks for President Trump to come to the White House and get this deal done easily. I was here this morning, saw Steve Witkoff in 7 in the morning. He just finished coming back from Russia with an American that was held hostage. Here he is, 7 in the morning, ready to get back at it again. This is what the Trump-Vance administration is about. We are all gas, no brakes. We are making sure we get the job done for the American people. And for Mark Fogel's family, his 90-something-year-old mother gets to see her son again. She thought she would die without seeing her son. This was an amazing day for America. This is exactly who President Trump is, bringing our people back home and making sure that the American spirit is back.
Yes, like I said, winning. All it took was effort. All it took was to try to get him home. And within 3 weeks, here we are. And they alluded to it in the beginning of that clip that there were possibly more. And just 24 hours later, he secured the release of 3 people out of Belarus. One of them being an American whose name has not been released that I can see as of yet, which that's kind of interesting. And I'll leave that speculation up to you as to why that might be. But nevertheless, 3 prisoners from Belarus. And what the speculation is that the prime minister of Belarus basically is trying to ingratiate himself with President Trump. And hey, whatever it takes. And all it really took from President Trump was to try. and that just proves the level of caring and affection that he has for the American people. He wanted to get these prisoners home, and he's trying to do it. He has an office set up to try and do that. And Biden bribing in his puppeteers, and you know it was his puppeteers, because he was soiling his diapers half the time, and if he wasn't doing that, he was asleep. So you know it was his puppeteers and his handlers that were doing this, and they couldn't care less. We know this. So we have that, and I talked about Tulsi and RFK getting confirmed. Mitch McConnell, the only Republican to vote against both of those nominees. And you know he's going to vote no against Kash as well. He might vote to pass him out of committee, but then when it comes to final confirmation vote, he's going to vote no. because he can't stand Trump, and he is giving Trump and everyone who voted for him, really. And I've seen people from Kentucky talking about how he does not represent them, and of course we all know that he doesn't. But he's given Trump and his supporters the double barrel middle finger as he slinks off into his hole. And I honestly, I know it's not going to happen, but I just want him to retire now. I want him to retire now. This guy, he's been, and I heard somebody the other day call him Glitch McConnell. And it's really not funny because it's sad and I'm not going to play the clips of him standing up in front of a microphone trying to give a speech and then just short circuiting. It's really not funny, but the name Glitch McConnell is kind of funny. But he's clearly not fit to serve, and he fell twice in a week. I think it was within a couple of days. He fell twice. He's in a wheelchair. They had to help him into his vehicle the other day, and I'm not going to show that video either. It's online, and it's just obvious that he is not fit. It's been obvious, and I mean, this is one of the perfect cases for term limits. And there was another representative standing up giving us a speech, and he glitched. He claimed it was an adverse reaction to some medication. It wasn't quite as bad as what happened to McConnell, but it was close. It was close, and I think the medication thing is an excuse. It looked like a mini stroke is what it looked like, just like with McConnell. And so, and then we have Nancy Pelosi falling and breaking her hip, and she looks like a shell of her former self, and that's saying a lot considering how bad she's been looking over the past 10 years. I mean, these people have been in office for decades. Get out. Get out. We don't want you. We don't need you. Perfect cases to illustrate why we need term limits. All right, I want to pivot to well, not really pivot. It's just a slight turn to more winning, because another one of President Trump's executive orders was to ban gender-deluded men from women's sports. And I know it's been a little bit. This was something I was going to talk about on in the last show, but we got cut off. But I really want to want to show us this and talk about this, because it's just mind-blowing that we're even in a place where this has to be an executive order. But again, here we are. And so take a look at this, because this was a really heartwarming and really cute moment for President Trump.
Watch what I do, and then I'm going to give you some pins, okay? You ready? What a nice picture this is, huh, Governor?
Absolutely.
You ready? We'll do a good job. Wait, let me press that. I want to make this a really good signature, because this is a big one. Oh, I think we have a 10. We have a 10.
God bless you.
Pretty good, huh? I see that. Okay, good. Now you're going to go out and win those events, right? Nice to see you all. Nice to meet you. Great going, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you, kids. Here, take a pen. Thank you. I'll give some of these out, okay?
That was awesome. And you could see Riley Gaines and Sage Steele and Peyton McNabb and Paula Scanlon and all the women who have been fighting for this for a long time. And it's just, I can't believe, if you'd have said 10 years ago to anyone that the president is going to have to sign an executive order to ban men who think they're women from women's sports, they would have looked at you like you had 6 heads, because it's just that ridiculous. Here we are. And I find myself saying that a lot because it's just, it's just mind boggling that we are here at this point in time where dudes, mentally ill men who think they're women, and this will probably get me kicked off of YouTube, but I really don't care. But mentally ill men thinking that they're women, it's just mystifying that's even a thing. And I talked about a while ago this 50-year-old swimmer competing against girls of all ages, ranging from elementary school all the way up to high school. And this was up in Canada, changing in the same locker room as those girls, and nobody said anything. And I know that's Canada, so that this executive order wouldn't apply up there. But just to illustrate the point, what happened? I don't know. I really don't know. It's just mind-boggling that we're here. And one of the things that the left likes to claim is that there's no science behind the complaints, behind the objections to having these guys compete against women. Well, if you need any science beyond just the eye test, well, then you have a serious problem. And you need to get yourself checked, because it's obvious. One of the very first cases that I remember where this was in my consciousness and has been since was the case in Connecticut. The high school track team, they had a kid who thought he was or pretended to be a girl on their team, and they lost out on scholarships and races and things like that. And one of them told a story about how her brother, she was a twin, her twin brother would race against her and win every single time, when she's been a track athlete for most of her life and training for stuff like that. And he didn't train at all. He was not an athlete at all. And he would routinely beat her in a foot race. Well, why is that? Because he's a boy? Because he's bigger, stronger, faster, has better lung capacity? Just it's a completely different game. Just like Serena Williams said when they were talking about her playing against Andy Murray, who at the time was #1 ranked tennis player. At the same time she was. And she said point blank, it is a different game. Playing against a professional male tennis player is a completely different game. And women competing against men in any physical endeavor is a completely different game. But there was a study of, I don't remember exactly where this is. but I'm gonna show you here in a second. National Library of Medicine, and this is on PubMed, and I'm going to show you this right here in a second. They talk about how, well, they basically refute that argument that there's no scientific basis, and they come right out and say, yes, there is. And I'm going to highlight this right here. Reported studies show it is difficult to continuously suppress testosterone in transgender women, meaning dudes who think they're women or pretending to be women. Given that the percentage difference between medal placings at the elite level is normally less than 1%. There must be confidence that in elite trans women, gender-diluted men, athlete retains no residual advantage from former testosterone exposure, where the inherent advantage, depending on sport, could be 10 to 30%. Current scientific evidence cannot provide such assurances, and thus, under abiding rulings, the inclusion of trans women, gender-diluted men, in the elite female division needs to be reconsidered for fairness to female-born athletes. Well, there you go. If the eye test isn't good enough for you, there's the science right there. And you can read this entire thing because they go into all the studies and the methodology and all that. And the link to it is in the show notes. You can check that out as well. But it's just madness that we're even at this point where it just makes no sense. It really makes no sense. And of course, we have Minnesota and Governor Tampon Tim. That doesn't even really surprise you, but the high school leagues in Minnesota are ignoring this, and doing the same thing in Maine. Minnesota and Maine are ignoring this order, and even beyond the fact that it's an executive order, when you look at all the injuries that these girls suffer at the hands of these dudes, Peyton McNabb, permanent injuries after getting a volleyball spiked in her head. And I've talked about a number of these other cases. The field hockey player who got her teeth smashed in by a dude playing on the other team. And the basketball team, also in Massachusetts, where the dude on the other team injured so many other players that they had to forfeit the game. And then the ones that were still eligible said, no, we're not playing against him anymore. It's just, it's obvious that they don't care about women and girls. They only care about the feelings of these mentally ill men and boys. Unbelievable. Yet totally believable when it comes from the left. Speaking of banning trannies, this just came through. I saw this morning. The new Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, and I'm blanking on his name at the moment, but he banned gender-diluted dudes from women's shelters. Good. Again, why this needed to be explicitly stated is truly mystifying. But then not only that, but Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, has banned gender-diluted dudes from entering, or he banned gender-confused people in general, male and female, from enlisting in the Army, and banned them in the armed forces, in the military in general. Banned them from re-enlisting, and has suspended all medical procedures related to gender affirming, and if you're listening, then air quotes in full effect, gender affirming care. This is another step towards making our military great again. And before we take a break, there was one more executive order that I want to talk about, and that is Trump's executive order protecting the Second Amendment. And a lot of politicians pay lip service to the Second Amendment, and even Trump in his first term was somewhat guilty of this. What they do is they like I said, they pay lip service to it. They say therefore the Second Amendment. They say therefore protecting our rights and things like that. But then when push comes to shove, they don't really take any action on that. But President Trump did. And I just want to read a little bit. Maybe I'll read the whole thing. I'm not sure. But this is President Trump's executive order protecting Second Amendment rights. And it says, Section 1, the Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. Amen. It has preserved the right of the American people to protect ourselves, our families, and our freedoms since the founding of our great nation. Because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans, the right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. Not shall not, must not. I like that. Plan of action. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisor to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. In developing such proposed plan of action, the Attorney General shall review at a minimum all presidential and agencies' actions from January 2021 through January 2025 that purport to promote safety but may have infringed on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. Rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, included by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives from January 2021 through January 2025 pertaining to firearms and or federal firearms licensees. Agencies' plans, orders, and actions regarding the so-called enhanced regulatory enforcement policy pertaining to firearms and or federal firearms licensees. Reports and related documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, which he disbanded, thank God. The positions taken by the United States in any and all ongoing and potential litigation that affects or could affect the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights, agencies' classification of firearms and ammunition, and the processing of applications to make, manufacture, transfer, or export firearms. And it goes on a little bit, but you get the idea. That is the most I've seen, the most any of us have seen from any president, any politician in general, with regard to protecting our Second Amendment rights. And I understand that this is an executive order. This is not law, but neither are any of the rules and regulations, especially when it comes to the ATF. None of those are laws either. Yet we have a number of people, hundreds, maybe even thousands of people in jail having their rights stripped away because they violated some rule that had no basis, well, no force of law, except for the fact that the ATF decided that what they were doing was against their rules and regulations, and therefore had to be arrested and prosecuted and incarcerated. This executive order, I think, is a great first step. It's a great first step. Obviously, with Trump's mandate and the fact that he has the House and the Senate, now is the time to take some of these steps and make laws that will prevent any of these rules from being implemented should an anti-gun activist end up in the White House again. I don't think it's going to happen for a while. I think we have some time to get it done, but that doesn't mean we should wait. Obviously, we need to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. And while Trump has this political capital, and he has a ton right now, I think that we need to get this done. And one of the things that really gets me about this, the left loves to call Trump a fascist. They love to call him a fascist, and I'm working on a piece right now. Either I'm going to write it or I'm going to do a video on it. I'm just working on the research right now about what fascism really means. But they call him a fascist, and yet they're all up in arms about this executive order that acknowledges the constitutional limits of the executive, of the government in general, the executive office in particular. And this executive order reinforces the constitutional amendment, the constitutional amendment that protects and that guarantees the right of the people to protect themselves against fascism, against tyranny. I mean, they make no sense. They are incoherent. I used to say that a lot about them. I need to bring that back. Every point I try to make is completely incoherent. And calling Trump a fascist when he is protecting the Second Amendment, which allows us to protect ourselves against fascism and tyranny, is the epitome of incoherence. Oh my goodness. This is going to be this is going to be a great 4 years for us, but a long 4 years for the left. Oh my goodness. And I am here for it. All right. Let's get in a word from our sponsor before we move on, because I want to talk about something that we've kind of gotten away from here on the show, and I want to start to get back to that. But before we do, let's go ahead and, like I said, get a word from our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. And now more than ever, it is so important to support companies that support us, support companies that share our values, that are passionate about the things that we're passionate about. Because now that Trump is in office, we got to do more than just vote. And Patriot Mobile not only, like I said, shares our values, but they actually have committed themselves to doing something about it. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless carrier. I am so happy that we switched, because it has been an amazing experience going from one of the big three to Patriot Mobile is just outstanding. I highly recommend it. But they donate a portion of every dollar of your bill to organizations that fight for causes that you and I care about. They are down on the border helping with the illegal immigration issue and human trafficking. You name it. They're heavy into the pro-life movement. You name it. If it's a conservative value, they are involved. So go ahead and switch to Patriot Mobile now and get a free month of service with the offer code Jackson. Go to patriotmobile.com and use the promo code Jackson, or call 972-PATRIOT and use promo code Jackson. All right, this is the Mission Ready Men briefing. I'm Big E, and we are here on the SHR Media Network, where you can catch Sackhead Sean on the Edge of Liberty every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. A Reaver of Common Sense with Jersey Joe every Monday and Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And BZ on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon every Tuesday and Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. So you can go ahead and like and subscribe and share all those guys' great shows, and pray for us all that we have a huge breakthrough this year, so that we can continue to reach people and reach many more people, as many people as we possibly can. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. I said before the break that I wanted to get back to something that we started off doing and then kind of got away from it because the news cycle has just been bananas. And I wanted to talk about biblical manhood. And that was kind of what this channel started off doing. And then we kind of got away from it. Our mission, so to speak, is equipping men to navigate the challenges of the day, of our society from a biblical perspective. And we've talked about when that was more of the focus, we talked about the issues of the day with respect to biblical principles. But I want to get back to that, and I want to get back to it specifically with respect to men. And I've said this before, but men are supposed to be leaders. Men are supposed to be leaders of their households, their businesses. Men are called by God to lead. And 1 Corinthians 16:13 Paul lays out exactly how men ought to conduct themselves. Be watchful, stand firm in the faith, act like men, be strong. Let all that you do be done in love. That's 1 Corinthians 16:13 and 14. How do we do this? And how does it tie into current times without getting too preachy, I guess? And I don't know if you can really avoid that, but I will try, because, well, I've been seeing a lot of posts on social media. Social media it's it's been fun. It's been fun these past few weeks, but some of the things that you see on there are just absolutely ridiculous. But anyway, I've been seeing a lot of these posts, a lot of these leftists talking about questioning how Christians can possibly vote for Trump. He's an adulterer. He's alleged to have cheated in business and all this other stuff. He's had multiple wives and multiple children by different women, blah, blah, blah. And my response to that is usually the one I use the most with that, depending on the situation, is I didn't vote for him to be my pastor. I didn't vote for him to be my spiritual guide. I didn't vote for him because I thought because I think he is going to shepherd me through life, through a life serving Jesus Christ. That's not why I voted for him. I voted for him to fix all of the stuff that Bribin and his puppeteers broke over the past 4 years. And one of the great things about President Trump that surprises me really is how he seems to be embracing the idea that God saved him that day in Butler, Pennsylvania, from that assassination attempt. And he's embracing the idea that he believes that God has plans for him and how he can bring this country back to him. And I've always believed that since he did survive that attempt. That's what I've always believed. And Trump's been saying the same thing. And it's one thing when he did it at the convention, when it was so close to the event. I mean, he was still wearing the bandage at the convention. And so it's one thing to still be in that mode, but it's been months now and he's still saying the same thing with even more conviction, I think. And so one of the when people talk about how flawed of a guy Trump is, let's not forget biblical leaders like David was an adulterer. He was a murderer. Paul murdered Christians before his conviction on the road to Damascus. And the Bible is full of flawed men who God raised up. I mean, you could go down the list. You could go down the entire list. And I'm not going to get into all that right now. But with all of Trump's failings, with all of his flaws, he fits right in. He fits right into that biblical leader. And I'm not saying that he is a devout Christian. I'm not saying that he is someone that you should look up to in terms of your faith walk or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that in this particular moment in time, I believe that he is the biblical leader that we need. Why do I think that? Biblical leaders, good biblical leaders, do not allow chaos to reign. They don't. And during the Bribin administration, chaos was the rule of the day. If it wasn't chaotic, then they were going to do something to make sure that it became chaotic. And if you were paying attention at all during those 4 years, you know that I am 100% correct. And then after all the chaos, and we're talking about chaos all over the world, not just in this country. We're talking about Ukraine. We're talking about the Middle East. You name it. Chaos started to rule. And Trump steps into office, and almost immediately the chaos subsides. We now have Putin and Zelensky getting ready to sit down and have peace talks. Countries in the Middle East are starting to come together after Trump's declaration that he was going to take over Gaza. They're starting to come together now and figure out how to make that work, which is what I said was going to happen. But y'all didn't listen. Well, I'm sure you did. Anyway, So Trump steps in, chaos subsides. If you as a man are presiding over a chaotic business, a chaotic, unhealthy organization, a chaotic or unhealthy, unloving family, then you need to ask God what you need to do to turn that around. Because as I said, a biblical leader doesn't allow chaos to reign in his business, in his home, anywhere. And so crack open that Bible, go to God in prayer about that, and do what you can to with his help to try and resolve that. Because if he can raise up a flawed man like David, if he can raise up a flawed man like Trump to turn this country around, he can use you to turn your family or your business around and get it back on the right track. So, like I said, take it to God in prayer, and understand. Ask him to help you understand your role as a man, and I think then you'll understand if you're having a problem figuring out why Trump is why Christians are so happy that Trump is in office, and we're eager to have him back in office. Take it to God in prayer and ask him to help you with your life, and I think you'll understand. All right, sermon over. And like I said in the beginning, we are going to go a little over because there's a few other things I want to get to, and I don't want to leave them untouched because I it's just too good. The left is apoplectic about Doge. They're one of the biggest things that they're talking about right now in terms of Doge and Elon Musk is they're saying how no one elected Elon Musk, and they those same people had not a peep to say when unelected puppeteers were running the show while Bribin was sleeping and soiling his diapers. Nothing. They had not a word to say. They were saying that Bribin was as sharp as a tack. And those same people, they didn't have a problem when Fauci was dictating policy and telling people they had to wear masks and telling people they had to get jabbed with experimental substances and stay 6 feet apart from each other and stay away from loved ones as they were languishing in hospitals and nursing homes and passing away while you were sitting at home in your mask. Though they didn't have anything to say about that unelected official doing anything. And they're also upset that there are teenagers and young people running Doge, and teenage hackers, whatever they want to call them. But those very same people thought Greta Thunberg thought that we should pay attention to her like her word was gospel. Those same people. The hypocrisy with these people is off the charts. It's remarkable. And one of oh my goodness. Excuse me. one of the craziest things, and I debated putting this in when I heard it because maybe people can construe it in a not so negative light, and I was going to give her the benefit of the doubt, and I decided, you know what? No, I'm not going to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to choose to believe that this is exactly what she meant when she said it. And of course, I'm talking about crazy Auntie Max. And she had, I'm going to call it a Freudian slip.
When Musk comes knocking at the
This was hilarious. And like I said, I thought about not, thought about giving her the benefit of the doubt, but you know what? Those days are over.
Fed's door, you gonna let him in?
I don't have anything for you on that.
Would you like to tell us, T, that you won't let Doge into the Federal Reserve or have access to the systems and the data?
So I don't have any, we've had no, no contact, and I don't really, I have nothing for you to report today on that.
Well, you know what happened at Treasury, and you know what happened over at the CFPB, and the people of this country are being violated because all of our privacy is being taken up by Elon Musk and Trump, and we don't know what all they have on us, our bank account.
We don't know what all they have on us.
So all gas and no brakes.
Yeah. She doesn't know what all they have on her. And I'm certain that there is a lot to be had. And so I'm going to choose that she was that she had a slip. She let the mask slip a little bit. I'm not want the alien mask that she's wearing. Or the predator mask, excuse me. And you can go back through my Twitter feed to find that. It's been a while ago. Maybe I'll post it again just for grins. But these people are so upset that Trump and Elon are looking at this stuff and finding this fraud, waste, and abuse. And instead of at least pretending to be surprised and pretending that they're upset that all of this money is being wasted, they are actually defending the fraud, waste, and abuse by the TDS and the EDS is just, I thought it was bad before, but seeing them defend the indefensible like this is, it goes beyond mind-blowing. It goes beyond mystifying. I don't know if I have the vocabulary to accurately express how crazy this is. It's beyond anything I have seen in my entire time covering and paying attention to politics. And so they're defending the indefensible. And what she said right there in terms of we don't know what they have on us. Well, I suspect that a lot of it is going to come out during this review by Doge. And one of the other things that they're upset about is that Elon is talking about all these things, but there's no evidence. Anderson Cooper talked about that a few days ago, and all the leftist talking heads are saying, well, is he going to show us any evidence? There's been plenty of evidence, plenty. And the Doge website is finally up. And let's go ahead and take a look at that real quick, because that is that is another pretty fascinating thing to take a look at, and it ties into a lot of other things besides this audit. This isn't the homepage. This is the regulations piece of it, and it has an unconstitutionality index, and it's the number of agency rules created by unelected bureaucrats for each law passed by Congress. And this is just, well, it says just in 2024, but it goes back to 2008, it looks like. And this green represents the law, and the blue represents the number of rules and regulations attendant to these laws. And all you have to do, if you're skeptical about that, all you have to do is look at the Federal Register when it comes to the ATF rules and regulations. The ATF rules and regulations that are put in place on top of the laws that Congress passed is ridiculous. And that's why there's so many people in jail and had their licenses taken away and stuff like that, because they violated these stupid rules, but these rules had nothing to do, well, not had nothing to do, but they didn't break the law that the rule was placed on top of. And go over here to savings. There's no receipts there yet, but there is. If you go to the Doge Twitter page, and I don't know if I have that. No, I don't have the Doge Twitter page up. But the Doge Twitter page goes through, and there are a number of receipts there where you can see the contracts that they've canceled and the value of those contracts. And they posted a few of them at this point now, with savings of millions of dollars. And I'm looking forward to the receipts page coming up on the website where we can see exactly how much was being wasted. He talked about how there were Social Security payments going to people who would be 150 years old if they were still alive. There are billions of dollars of Social Security payments going overseas to people who were never eligible to get that money. And this has been going on for years. It would not surprise me one bit if, when this was all said and done, if the deficit that we're running, which is now at 36, the debt, excuse me, or the deficit, it wouldn't surprise me if it was cut in half by all of this. Once all of this comes to light and all of this money is saved, it would not surprise me one bit if that was cut in half or more. Because this is ridiculous. And the left is defending it. They're defending it. Not even pretending to be upset by all the waste. Not even a bit, which tells me that the reason they're upset is because a lot of this stuff is ending up in their pockets and the pockets of their friends. And that's about to get cut off. And they're mad. You know what? I really don't care, Margaret. I really do not care. All right. We are a little bit over, but I still want to get to this. Just real quick, President Trump, he revoked the security clearances of a number of people, bribing Antony Blinken, Jake Sullivan, Lisa Monaco, and Alvin Bragg, Manhattan District Attorney, and Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state of New York. And This is what I like to call the FO portion of the production, because the FA was running rampant, and now it was running rampant for the past 4 years, and now we're in FO mode, and I'm here for it. And I say that well, let's just take a look, because there's one playing right now that I really hope I get to, but if not, I'll repost it. But Pam Bondi. Well, before we get to that, he revoked those security clearances, and I'm talking about Bribin, Blinken, Sullivan, and Monaco. Bribin proved over the entire 4 years of his presidency that he could not be trusted. He had top secret documents in a garage next to his Corvette. And there were other documents found in his office that was bought and paid for by China. People forget about that. He couldn't be trusted. And now that he's in full-blown dementia mode, allowing him to have security briefings is just ridiculous, because he's probably going to tell Hunter or Jill, and they're going to take that information and turn around and sell it, or write about it, or who knows what, but they'll make money off of it somehow. So revoking that security clearance was the absolute right thing to do. Allowing him to have access to that information was just silly. And Blinken and the rest of them, if they had that kind of access, they've proven that they can't be trusted. They've proven that they will do everything they possibly can to undermine what President Trump is trying to do. So good on him for doing that. But now when it comes to Twinkies, Tish, and the state of New York, Pam Bondi has, and she is going to facilitate the FO portion of the program. She has filed charges or filed civil suit. The left is picking nits about the use of the word charges, whatever. The fact remains that they are going to be held accountable. And here is part of her press conference.
Today, because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. We're here today because we...
Absolutely. Why it started in the first place is beyond me. But Pam Bondi is 100% correct. They have prioritized illegal aliens. They just the other day, they tried to pay $59 million to house illegal aliens in these hotels. Now that payment was stopped. Kristi Noem said that they clawed that money back. Good for them. Good. All these illegal aliens need to go. And everyone who is responsible for bringing them here and housing them and allowing them to be menaces to society, they need to be brought up on charges as well. And this is what Pam Bondi's doing, and I think that is absolutely fantastic. All right, couple more things. We are a little bit over. A couple more things I wanted to get to. Doug Collins. He is the new head of the VA, and I've been a big fan of his for a while. He is he's an Air Force vet. He's a preacher. He was a chaplain when he was in the Air Force, I believe. And I've heard him preach a couple of times, and he's great. And he was a great lawmaker. On one hand, I was sorry to see him go, but on the other hand, he'd been there a while, and if I'm for term limits, then he should step down, and I'm glad he did, because now he's the head of the VA. And he put out a video the other day where he just spoke directly to veterans and dispelled some of the rumors that the left has been promulgating. And let's take a look at that video real quick. It's about a minute and a half long, but it's worth it. And if you're not familiar with Doug Collins, I believe he was representative in North Carolina, one of the Carolinas, I believe. I could be wrong, but he's the VA secretary now. So let's take a listen.
Hey everybody, it's Doug again. I can't believe it. I've been here about a week, and you know the one thing that hadn't changed about DC, it's the media up here that like to tell you stuff that they want you to believe. I'm going to give you a breakdown. This is how it happens in the media up here. They take a possibility and then they run with a story because they want you to believe it because they got to write something. And then frankly, they don't know what to write because right now President Trump is making progress and this administration is doing what it said, making promises and keeping them. But let me tell you one that's right now. There's a one that's going around in the media right now about veterans benefits being cut. I'm the Secretary of VA. I'm going to tell you right now, that's not happening. They can do hypotheticals all they want. I'm telling you about reality. Reality is veterans benefits aren't getting cut. In fact, we're actually giving and improving services in our Veteran Benefits Administration. They're actually clearing cases quicker. We're doing what we're supposed to be doing. There's also this rumor out there that DOJ is out there, is this infamous thing that's going to take personal information and do that. I'm telling you what, we've got DOJ representatives here that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And that is looking at our contracts, making sure that we have the best run facility for efficiency to make sure who? The veteran gets the care they need. I'm happy to partner with them to find things that we need to get rid of so that we can put the money where it belongs. You know where that is? Back with our veteran. President Trump's hit the ground running. We've hit the ground running. And like I'm saying, if you want to come for the real truth, come to see me.
That's what's up. That is what's up. Doug Collins is letting everyone know, he's speaking directly to the veterans, letting them know that he is in charge and that he is looking out for them. And that is great to hear. That is fantastic news. And I'm sure all the veterans who have been dealing with this ridiculousness for years on end, I'm sure that they're happy to hear that message from him. All right. One last quick thing before we get you out of here. This is just this is just funny. This is just I wanted to talk about this before, and it's a little old at this point, but it's still hilarious. And you know, we have this representative from Delaware who is a gender deluded, mentally ill dude, and he's pretending to be a woman in the halls of Congress, and Mary Miller, who is a representative from Indiana, I believe, she introduced him as Mr. McBride, and this is just awesome. Take a look at this.
From Delaware, Mr. McBride for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I was elected, I promised to work with anyone
That's
who
right.
would help Delaware
That's Mr.
and Delawareans.
McBride.
to stand anyone who seeks to harm my son.
Anyway, I don't want to hear what he has to say, but I just thought that was absolutely hilarious. And Mary Miller deserves a hat tip because that was awesome. Truth is now the rule of the day. We're not going to be pretending, tiptoeing around these mentally ill people, pretending that they're women when they're not. We're just not doing it, and good on her for doing that. Good on her for doing that, because he's a dude who grew his hair out and wears makeup. It's that plain and simple. Anyway, folks, that is it. That's all I got for you this time. I will try to do better on the next one. Please remember to hit that like button, subscribe, and share these videos, please, because we want to continue to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and the message of hope and liberty that he has given us. And we want to spread that to as many people as we can, because we want to preserve what we have for future generations. And also, if you like the shirt I'm wearing, please head over to missionreadymen.com, click Shop 7 Armors, and check out that design and all the other cool designs that we have over there. And like I said at the top of the show, if you're looking for a Valentine's Day last minute gift, head over to carrygirl.com and get yourself a gift certificate so that your wife or your girlfriend can get some of those cool t-shirts as well. And they have hats, mugs, drinkware, and a whole host of other accessories that you can check out while you're there. But as always, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.